didn't we? Filming. Does anybody intend filming the meeting? No. Good. There's no members of the public. That's okay. Would everyone please ensure their mobile phones are turned to silent and they're not used to make or receive calls in the chamber when the meeting's in progress? Please note this meeting is being live streamed for members of the public, except for any items of business or exempt or confidential information is considered following the exclusion of the press and the public from the meeting. The meeting is also being recorded and will be broadcast on the internet. Do any members wish to speak under Council Rule Procedure 20.1? No? Good. Apologies for absence. We have an apology from Mr. Hughes. Any other apologies? No. Okay. Are there any declarations of interest? Good. The minutes of the meeting held on the 1st of September, I move that they have been be approved and signed as correct record. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Austin, thank you. Unless anyone objects to the meetings, I will take them as agreed. Agreed. Thank you. Item 4, Samira will open the debate on item agenda 4.
Thank you, Chair. Members will note that report before yourselves tonight is in relation to amending the start dates of all committees, except as outlined in report 2.2, paragraph 2.2 of the report, which basically it concerns licensing board, licensing subcommittee, general purposes committee, investigating and disciplinary subcommittee, investigating disciplinary appeals subcommittee, grievance and grievance committee, and also the independent persons panel. At the moment, all our council meetings start at 7 p.m. to allow members to attend straight after work. CMT were asked CMT asked Democratic Services to inquire with the 4 group leaders to see if they had any preference in terms of starting date, and almost all of them had no objection to starting the meeting earlier. The original discussion was to start the meeting at 6 p.m. But on reflection, a lot of members basically wanted a 6:30 start rather than a 6 p.m. Democratic Services also made inquiries to the neighbouring local authorities in relation to when they start their meetings, and quite a few of them start at 7 p.m. except KCC that starts at, they have daytime meetings because they don't have any evening meetings per se. There are other local authorities as well who start meetings either 6 or 6:30 p.m. So the recommendation is basically before yourselves to recommend to Standards Committee to start the meeting either at 6 or 6:30 p.m. as opposed to 7 p.m. There's also another added factor which I need to draw to your attention is that the JTB committee, which starts in the evening, and we had real difficulty in getting officers from KCC to attend that meeting because KCC only does afternoon or mornings meetings. They don't attend the evening meeting. So members are asked to note that and put a proposal forward if they so wish to get officers from there to attend the meetings.
Anybody wish to make any comment? Councillor Ashby.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Samira. I think it makes perfect sense, this. I believe the 7 o'clock meeting was set to accommodate working members. As a group leader, I'm only aware of a couple of members that work into sort of longer hours, as it were, and being that we're mainly talking about the council meeting, and obviously not everybody sits on every meeting, on every committee, so primarily it is the council meeting that everybody has to attend. So I believe that 6:30 is sort of neither here nor there, and I also think that people's recognition of start time is a lot easier to think of as on the clock, on the hour, rather than the half hour. Also, I'd like members to consider that obviously officers are here all day and then they're hanging around for a considerable amount of time before the meeting kicks in. So I think 6 o'clock would be obviously advantageous to officers as well. I think the majority of members that I've spoken to would be able to attend at 6 o'clock. The other point to consider as well is that a lot of our meetings during the winter, the council offices have to remain open for that extra time. And I think that hour would make considerable difference to our energy savings with the heating and lighting, although we haven't got a lot of heating on today. Ordinarily, it just makes an all-round good sense. So, and looking at the other councils, I have had a look at other districts, and I note that Dover start at 6, and I think we're saying that Folkestone start at 7, but I have had a look up and down the country, and at quite a good spread of examples, and a lot of them start at 6. So I would propose, Chair, that I'd move that the start time is 6 p.m. I'll come back to the JTB bit after if I can.
Can I not accept that as a proposal, just to move at the moment to hear what everybody else has said? Councillor Austin.
I accept what the leader said in terms of officers hanging around and the issue about office costs. I believe that we could address some of the office costs by having every meeting that we don't have to have here online, which would reduce people's time, it would reduce petrol consumption, etc., as well as reduce our heating bills. Councillor Curry and I were talking about this immediately before the meeting, and we feel that there's a real problem with councils generally around their representativeness of the community at large. We have with us Councillor Cupp, who is a younger member. Most of us are not of working age, and so we can come at an earlier stage. But if we want to represent our communities better, we need to be trying to attract more people of standard working age, and that is going to be very difficult if our meetings start at 6. We might manage it at 6:30, but 6 is really extremely difficult. We have a member who works full-time, runs her own business, and she's often rushing in at the very last minute. She was last week for a 7 o'clock meeting. It would be impossible for her to manage if the meeting started at 6. I really think we should consider not just our existing members and our prospective members after May, but the people we want to attract as members to represent their communities in the future.
Thank you. Councillor Cupp.
Thank you, Chair. As I was known, I thought I'd come in as a younger member. Well, surprisingly, I do see the merit in starting at 7 o'clock. I absolutely can see that. But as someone that has, I've got obviously my councillor job, and then I have 2 other jobs as well. I actually, I'm a type 1 diabetic, so having the meetings later and also having group meetings beforehand, everything pushes everything back, and it actually means that it kind of mucks everything up for me. So having a meeting at 6 o'clock rather than 7 o'clock would actually work better for myself in that sense. And I would say there are a lot more people that are going into jobs now that are working from home. And it means they are more flexible. My main job is I can work from home now, which means I'm a lot more flexible. I can attend a lot more meetings, and I know there are a lot more jobs that are allowing people to work from home now. And I think that by sometimes actually having the meeting at 7 o'clock, it makes people's working day a lot longer, when we could actually bring it narrower and have a full council meeting that finishes by 8. That's still plenty enough time that you can go and then have some dinner and so on and so forth. But when I'm sure my colleagues will agree with me that often if you haven't had time to have dinner and a council meeting goes on till 9, half 9, you then get home and you're really not hungry at all. And actually, it doesn't do you any good whatsoever, and you end up having a packet of crisps, and that's no good. So I would agree with the leader in this instance, as I always do. But I support her recommendation of a 6 p.m. start time for the meetings. Thank you, Chair.
You don't like kebabs then. Councillor Curry, do you wish to say anything?
I feel that whatever time we went with, there would be winners and losers here. I've spoken to some members who have said that they would like to start the meetings at 6. I've spoken to some members that said they would really struggle at 6. I think we have to accommodate members with the different times. As Councillor Austin mentioned, online meetings are very handy. For some of the smaller meetings, if they were online, we could hand out some of the committee roles to some of the members for 6 o'clock and some of the members for 7 o'clock, and it's a balancing act. But I just would say that this won't please everybody, but it certainly is a balancing act here. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to come back on the remote part of the meetings. Legally, we can't hold meeting remotely. It's not allowed, except if it's a panel. So you can hold panels or working party or working groups, you can hold them remotely, but the main substantive committees such as council, scrutiny, cabinet, it's got to be in person.
So does a panel include overview and scrutiny? No. Because it's a panel. It's not a panel.
No,
it's not a panel within the
committee.
meaning of the Act.
It's a committee.
Councillor, Mr Lorenzo?
Not councillor, please not. Yeah. Oh dear. Frankly, I think from the point of view of the members of the public, especially those who want to attend the planning committee, a 7 o'clock start would be better, so that they can refresh themselves and then come here and then moan and what have you. I'm not sure about the other, but certainly the planning committee, it needs to be 7 o'clock. If you want to ensure standardised time, stick to 7, to be honest.
I'd just like to say I'm in favour of it, although I'm of the non-working age, as Councillor Austin points out. I would rather stay at 7 o'clock. My only question is, if we make a recommendation for whatever time this evening, does that have an impact on every single committee meeting? How many of those committees also are in favour of leaving it at 7 or going against it? Do we know what the feeling is amongst all the other committees? Councillor Ashby?
Well, I don't think you can have a mix and match, because it would be a recipe for total disaster. Because I sit obviously on this committee, or cabinet and council, and there's all sorts of other things that go on, and I think I for one would probably be turning up at completely the wrong times. I don't think you can't have a mix and match. Like we've learned that, obviously without a change in the law of the land, then councils can't have remote meetings. And I can understand that actually, because I think if we were to ever move to virtual, I think it would be the ruination of councils' democracy, because it would be open to all sorts of interference. You can't guarantee the right people being present at the other end of the line. I mean, I know we had it during COVID,
Yeah.
but obviously that was needs must. But to do what I would call proper business, to even go down that route. But I mean, that's not what we're here to discuss tonight. But going forward, who knows? We're probably all having them on the moon or something. But it's I get the point where you're not going to please all the people all the time, or even any of the people any of the time. With far as planning's concerned, I attended as an onlooker to the planning meeting the other night, and it went on till 10 o'clock, and that is really a long stint, especially when you're here at 9 o'clock in the morning. That's a 13-hour day, which junior doctors don't even like doing that. So it's a difficult call, and I think most people actually that come to talk at planning, especially if they're agents or they are architects or whatever, I think they would prefer to come earlier. So, it's a difficult mix. quite rightly. I mean, I can only speak for what I believe as the majority of the group that are sitting at the moment would probably prefer 6 o'clock. So we tend to go with the majority. What can happen after the election and who's here, etc., then I don't know. But if you sign up to be a councillor, then you sort of sign up to knowing when the meetings are. So we could be saying that we don't think that young people want to come at 6, but actual fact they might want to, who knows. But I mean, I presume it can be brought back after a new administration's in, or a change of feeling at some point after May, but maybe it should be considered on the new council.
Seems an odd time to be deciding this, really, from that point of view, doesn't it?
I was going to say that, having listened to what everybody's saying, and with the elections coming up in May, perhaps it's better if this was put on the back burner till after May, so that we then get a general consensus with any new councillors, what their preference is, same with the committees, what the makeup of the committees are, what their preferences are, before we can actually say yes or no. But I know, Councillor Ashby, you said the majority of your group. Of course, the majority is taking away the minority who can't get to the meetings, who could have an important vote. That's an opinion of mine at this stage. Councillor Curry?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Peter. I feel that all the members at the present time, they become members knowing that these meetings were 7 o'clock. So I think it's a very good idea to delay a decision until after the elections.
Councillor Cupp, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, so just a couple of comments. So talking about getting younger people involved in the council, I think it's quite good to highlight that all of the youth council meetings that I've chaired, we start them at 6 o'clock because it is better for the younger people. It's more, they find it easier to get here at that time. So if that maybe is a bit of detail that might be beneficial to what a time is. And on the thing about delaying this decision, so I completely appreciate Councillor Corrie and your point, Peter, about maybe we delay it for the new administration and everything. But picking up on your point, Councillor Corrie, about people stand for election knowing what the times are. So surely it's better we have something in place for May, so that actually when they first come in, that's something that they already know. So there is, new councillors that are coming in, they will know that meetings are starting at 6 o'clock anyway. So actually we're giving them a new start at 6 o'clock for the meetings, or whatever proposed time, so that would be the norm going forward anyway. And I appreciate no one likes change. I don't like change, but sometimes change is for the good. Thank you, Chair.
I think from what you're saying, it's setting stone at the moment, so anybody standing for election will know that the meetings are at 7 o'clock anyway. And some of the younger people will probably be workers, and they'll be able to think to themselves, well, at least I can go home, have some meals, say hello to the family, and then come out, rather than stay out till 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, miss the children going to bed or whatever, a proper family life. That's my view of it. Having been there and done it in my former life, when you're out all day and half the evening, it's not very nice, you don't see the family. And that's all I was thinking, just a break. Councillor Austin?
I'm just going to add, Chair, in relation to the time, I was going to say is we've just agreed a timetable of meetings, dates for the next 4 years. So basically this coincides with the timing, so it'd be better. So we can't really hold things for the new administration. I appreciate what you're trying to say here, but it's business as usual. So we have to agree that the times and dates of the meetings, and as well as if this goes through, that will run alongside it. In relation to the new administration and changing, if there was proposal down the line, if members, new administration wasn't happy with the time, they could put motion in to the council and then change the timing. That's perfectly allowed within the constitution.
Councillor Austin?
I'd like to propose that we retain 7 o'clock at present and that we carry on with planning our schedule of meetings for the next administration on the basis of what everybody knows and, as you said, Chair, everybody expects, our candidates expect and so on, that the meetings will start at 7 and that if the new administration wants to review that decision, they do so once they are elected.
Thank you. Have I got a seconder? Councillor Curry.
It's me. I'm happy with that. Yes, I'm happy with that.
Can we take a vote on that then, I suppose, as I think there's going to be difference of opinions. Those in favour of the recommendation of it staying at 7 o'clock? Those against? It's carried. 7 o'clock for the time being. Thank you very much. I think there is some sort of any other business which I think from by the sound of it, it should be minuted. So I can ask you, Councillor Ashby, to introduce it.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate this is an ad hoc item, so, but I think it's necessary that we actually move this forward because it actually is quite crucial to one of the committees. So there has been an instance in the last couple of JTB meetings, Joint Transport Board meetings. Basically, it's a committee that is chaired alternate years from KCC and TDC. At the moment, I believe it is KCC chair this year. But unfortunately, a lot of the, if you like, the items are put forward by KCC. So they come here to this chamber and the KCC officer presenting, or that should present the report, doesn't attend. And there have been instances where proposals have been rejected because TDC members aren't happy with not knowing the full background. So the question was raised, and it appears that KCC officers do not attend meetings outside of the core hours. So it has been, because we've got a bit of an impasse here where we could end up with having decisions not processed because members, Thanet District Council members, are not happy with the lack of attendance by KCC to provide adequate reporting and information to the items. So it has been proposed that there's two things. One is they've proposed to supply us with equipment to allow KCC officers to be zoomed in, and the other issue, the other item has been suggested by the existing KCC chair. I believe KCC Councillor Binks is the chair at the moment, has suggested that we start earlier, so therefore KCC officers can attend during their core hours. I don't think that this is the type of meeting that should be done virtually, because there is a huge amount of detail that comes through with these reports, and I actually think it would be nice for the officers making recommendations to answer questions that will come up, and it's not always possible in a hybrid situation, in a virtual situation. So I would propose that, and the proposal, the suggested time is 4 p.m. So I appreciate this is completely contrary to what we've just been saying, but you can obviously select your committee. The leaders of the various groups can select their committees accordingly to suit that, Chair. So I don't know if I can make a formal proposal that the JTB meetings are scheduled to start at 4 p.m. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, Councillor, I've just been communicating with Charles, and he has advised me that KCC will not allow officers to come even at 4 p.m. They won't allow officers to come to Thanet to attend meetings in person.
At all?
At all.
At any time?
At any time.
That's cooperative and helpful, isn't it?
Can I ask Councillor Ashby, when does the KCC chair expire? Because I think you said on a yearly basis, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, it will come at the turn of the administration, so it will be in May. But that's not really the point. The point is that without KCC officers attending to explain the finite details, I mean, some of this is quite complicated stuff. And it's actually does fundamentally, when they come out with proposals like cycle lanes down the middle of the A28, then it's actually quite relevant that we have very detailed meetings that members can come and speak to. I've certainly been to some, there's been some quite, how can I put it politely, some quite extreme proposals that have come out from officers that is set in a Maidstone environment, and they're not familiar with the area, and I actually think that, well, I can take the matter up again with the leader of KCC, because I think it's actually, if we're going to have a joint committee, then either we've got to go there or they've got to come here, and we can't have this impasse. So I can only take the matter up tomorrow. I mean, this was a suggestion made by Councillor Binks, so I can take it up again with obviously Councillor Binks, who is the chair. But I mean, I think the best thing to do is to scrap the committee. If they're not going to participate, then there's not much point having it, is there? But I don't know how we're actually going to get items passed. Well, it is ridiculous, and needless to say, I am meeting Mr. Goff, the leader of KCC, tomorrow at another function, and I will be raising the matter, but I don't know how this committee wants to leave it. I mean, at the moment, I think JTB is scheduled at 7 o'clock. So I think it's quite reasonable that we actually change it, but if that's their carte blanche stance, then I'm actually speechless, Chair, to be quite frank.
Can I ask, do other councils have JTB with KCC?
I believe they do. I would have to check up on that, but I believe they do, because there has been discussions at Kent Leaders that we're finding it a rather strange committee. It doesn't appear to be functioning as it should do. Maybe KCC would like to give the functions of roads back over to Thanet District Council, then they won't have to come then, will they?
I was going to say, because if they have JTB, say, at Folkestone and Shepway or Dover, there's not much difference travelling for going down there. If they travel down there, why can't they travel here during the day?
It's my understanding, Chair, that they don't travel anywhere. It's not just Thanet. I don't take it personally. It's not just coming to Thanet. They don't go out at all anymore. They're all working from home.
Councillor Austin?
Could I propose that we leave the time of the JTB meetings in abeyance, subject to the leader negotiating with the leader of KCC, but that we make a note that we are concerned that KCC don't appear to be willing to cooperate with us in this matter. It would seem sensible, at least if the meetings were alternately in Maidstone and here. It doesn't seem unreasonable, and if officers need to only attend during the day, then we're willing to be accommodating to that. It seems extraordinary that they're not willing to negotiate on that.
Following on from your proposal, I would like to just add to that Councillor Ashby makes the strongest representation tomorrow, yes, and a follow-up letter maybe from the Chief Executive of the Council to put across the problems that they are causing this council and the area to do with the JTB meetings. Councillor Ashby.
If I may, Chair, there have already been some quite heated discussions on this subject, but I assume that things have been ironed out somewhat, but obviously not. We've completely reached an impasse here. I don't think it's feasible to travel to Maidstone on the basis that the only Maidstone representatives that come here are the chair every other year and the officers. There aren't any elected members from KCC that sit on it. No, right. The whole crux of the matter is that because KCC are the roads authority, yeah, Roads and Highways Authority, all the proposals come from them and they have to come to us for our, if you like, approval
You just thought
regarding the
site
scheme.
visits would be sensible rather than
Well, you know,
meeting in a room.
I think I daren't say any more on the live stream, but or even to the minutes clerk. But I will raise it again, and I know it's a very thorny subject, but it's not only Thanet. There are other districts that find the same thing quite annoying. I mean, I actually find it quite annoying on planning as well that KCC don't send representation when they make such stringent recommendations in planning applications, but never send an officer to back it up as well. So the same contentious issue is in that as well. So, you know, if you're the Highways Authority, then you've got to agree to participate in committee meetings. Otherwise, democracy is not being served.
Yeah,
Thank you, Chair.
I find that strange considering the current chair lives in Thanet. The current chair of this JTB actually lives in Thanet.
Councillor Binks finds it as highly annoying as what we do. So she doesn't believe. That's why I think she's obviously written and suggested at 4 p.m. trying to find some sort of solution. But obviously they're not having any of it, Chair.
Do we need a proposer and a seconder then for this, or just a recommendation?
Just a recommendation. I was just going to add, Chair, that the issue here is attending meeting in person, which you're already aware of. They're happy to attend virtually or hybrid, and that's why they're offering to lend or provide some system for us to be able to do that. They're not refusing to attend per se, that's what they're saying, but not in person. They will not come in person. That's the issue.
Thank you, Chair. But prior to that, we've been saying that we can't entertain virtual meetings. Statutory meetings can't entertain. So how can we change the rules for officers' attendance to a statutory meeting? I mean, I don't understand why they think giving us equipment is that regarded as a panel? Is a JTB? It's a board. It's Joint Transport Board. So would it not be probably unlawful for them to be come in via virtual? I mean, we can't even experiment. We haven't even explored that avenue. Thank you.
I hear what you're saying. In terms of it being legal, there are some authorities who allow officers to remotely attend meetings to present reports, which is what they're trying to do. So the meeting is still held in person, as you would, so public can attend, but officers can present reports, which is what KCC is saying, that they can come and they'll present reports virtually rather than being in person, and that's legal. At the moment, we don't have the facility to accommodate them, so they're saying, we will provide you with the accommodation, let our officers do hybrid.
In that case, I would like to suggest that the recommendation from this working party, as we're not a committee apparently, that we leave it in the capable hands of the leader to take the matter further forward and see where we go from there, with strong representations backed up by the officers, and by the sound of it, that's already been done. Would everybody agree with that? I don't think there's anything else. Meeting closed at 7:37. Thank you very much.